Good evening, my fellow Americans. It is indeed Monday, June 21st, 2021. I'd like to say good evening to all my fellow Americans, those of you who are watching the Robert DuVernay Show every Monday. You know, if it's Monday, if it's 8 p.m., it's the Robert DuVernay Show. Well, tonight, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to take this time to wish you all, those of you who did not get a chance to watch the last show of June 14th, happy belated Father's Day. Kudos to all the fathers. And of course, those of you who get a chance to wish your parents, your dad, wonderful, happy Father's Day, I send out kudos to you. And we thank all the fathers who've always been there for the children, for the wives, and the community. We salute you. Thank you so much. Well, tonight, ladies and gentlemen, what we have on the show for you is quite interesting, as always. The Robert DuVernay Show comes on every Monday with topics that are relevant to its audience, and then it is our duty and to portray what's going on in the nation. Well, tonight, before we get any further into our discussion, I'd like to send my condolences on behalf of the Robert DuVernay Show and myself to the Gillot family who lost a son, Daniel, just last week. He's a fine young man who his life has gone too soon. Tonight, the Robert DuVernay Show mourned the death of Daniel Gillot from the great state of Florida. Our condolences to the family, to the Gillot family. May God strengthen you during your difficult time. Thank you. Well, that being said, ladies and gentlemen, today what's been in the news is, of course, is Mr. Obama, the former President Obama, took the gloves off with regards to the recent hurdle in the Senate with regards to civil rights and also voting rights. There's a party. We hate to pinpoint out any particular party, but again, it's obvious. We've seen there's a shift when it comes to issue that matters to most Americans. Again, although we're living in a different time, we're living in a different era, but there are those who make it an effort to block any attempt on behalf of a certain party to take care of what matters the most. So tonight, I'd like to say to my audience is that what's important is not how much we have done, where we've come from, but is what are we doing for our nation? What kind of legacy that we want to leave for future generation? Because the future generation depends on us. They depend on us on everything that we do. And in history, we're going to judge us. And I hate to be on the wrong side of history. And that's a question that I'm posing the audience tonight. How would you like to be viewed after you're long gone? Our forefathers have fought. They give the best, just so you and I can enjoy the freedom that we have. But then, how can we preserve that freedom? That's a question for you tonight. Well, that's the reason I'm calling on all my viewers to take a moment to call your congressman, your congresswoman, call your senators from the state. Here in the state of Florida, we have two senators, Marco Rubio, they're both Republicans, and also Rick Scott. Also our governor, he was also a Republican, and I'm sure these guys, they have good intent, because I always believe that we all Americans, we have the best interests at heart, but sometimes it's the way that we portray our message, because it sends a different signal. Every time I see a particular party attempting to bypass the voting rights, to make it more difficult for others not to partake in the democratic system that we have, that right there is alarming. And then we as Americans, we need to stay tuned, we need to stay in the know when these things happening, so we call it for what they are. This is unacceptable. This is un-American. We would not accept that. So, which going to lead me to the next topic I'm going to have. As you all know, this last Thursday, President Biden, along with VP Kamala Harris, signed into law the new national holiday, Juneteenth. I'm sure most of you may have heard Juneteenth, and you would wonder where that originated. Juneteenth really was originated back in 1865. 1865, all the blacks were freed, and the last state in the nation to not making it known to its residents, to the slaves, was the great state of Texas. Texas always lead in everything that they do. Unfortunately, it's sad. I give you a prime example. It's that you have funds that were given to you, right? Let's say your father or your mom left you $1 million, and all along you've been broke. You've been in and out of jobs, and then sometimes you broke as broke can be. Yet there were funds sitting there for you, and then someone never told you that the fund was there all along. Because they knew if you know about this funding, you more likely will either quit this job or leave your community to start fresh because you have a leg to stand on. Well, that's exactly what happened. After the Emancipation Proclamation, the former President Abraham Lincoln had signed this glorious bill and free all the slaves in the South. Yet, we did not have internet back then. We did not have social media. We did not have cable news, as they seem to be so rampant these days. So it was a disadvantage to the slaves in the South, particularly in the great state of Texas. So what happened is the fact that they did not know about it, they suffer as a result of it. So it wouldn't be up 2 years later, because the emancipation was signed on June 19, 1863. So the blacks wouldn't know that until 2 years later. It was an order on announcement by General Order 3. That's what it's been called, General Order 3, by a Union Army general named Gordon Granger. The Union Army general named Gordon Granger, proclaiming and enforcing freedom of enslaved people in Texas, which was the last state of the Confederacy with institutional slavery. So Texas, again, I'm not taking anything on Texas, but Texas always seems to have issues when it comes to minorities and slaves. Again, I'm going back to just recently in 2013. Texas was the first state after the Democratic Party has won both the House, the Senate, and also the White House. With the emergence of President Obama, they put new regulation in place, new sets of voting rights, whereas they wanted to gut out some of the laws, and the only way they could do that was to take away some availability to minorities, whereas first thing they did was to slash the budget. Again, just on a side note, there's nothing new under the sun. Fool me once, shame on me. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. So, I mean, the great state of Texas has always been known for states who always seems to hamper things, especially when it comes to minority rights. And this past weekend, all federal employees had the day off this past Friday. Most of them were off, and some of them were off today because Juneteenth fall on the weekend. So it's important that we keep these things in mind and let our people know. So the lessons I've taken from Juneteenth is the fact that not knowing what's going on, not being knowledgeable of your surroundings, not being knowledgeable of the issues that are at stake. It's really a disadvantage to a large group or large segment of people. The example is clear and evident before us this evening. We could see that it was 2 years later that the slaves in Texas would finally find out that, hey, we are in fact free. So my message to my loyal viewers this evening is to encourage your people, is to always be a source of information to them, especially those who are needed the most. I think when we have a group of people that are knowledgeable or that are in tune with what's going on, they make better decisions, and the decisions are oftentimes very informed. So that's what happened to our people back in 1965. It was 2 years later. So it's really tough. It's really tough when the information is not at your disposal. So I believe that this is a great step on the part of President Biden to, at the stroke of a pen, he just pulled out his pen and he was about to sign this. So that's the beauty of being a U.S. president. You have the power, the authority, and to sign this historical day as a federal holiday. So I applaud President Biden for his effort. It's not. It has nothing to do with being party oriented. It's the fact that it's do the right thing as Americans. I think each and every American is proud for what he has done, and then it shows that we are bigger than slavery. We are bigger than what happened. So and that's how we solve our differences. So just shove it under the rug doesn't put it away. All we have to do, we can always revisit it, and it never heal. But I think by doing this, it's a step in the right direction, and we hope that others follow, and the future generation will judge us by what we have done, but not what we haven't done. So there's a unique opportunity, and Mr. Biden really seize up on it and pass Juneteenth as a national holiday. So this is it. Okay, next. Well, with regards to Juneteenth, what we can see is that future generations and can definitely look into about the way that we can bring issues like this to the forefront. I believe that these are things that need to be taught in classrooms. I have a few teachers, counselors who are part of this great broadcast that comes on every Monday. They know a thing or two about education, the importance of it. When we relate this information to our young people, they have a sense of appreciation, because the only way that we as a people can move forward is that when we know where we came from, what we went through, then when we have something like freedom, that we cherish it. Freedom doesn't mean that we do whatever we want. No. Just because the word has free in it doesn't mean it's free. Someone paid for it, and now you, as a recipient of freedom, you must cherish it. You must build upon it. I don't think freedom, you just have freedom, you just sit on it and say, you know what, I can do whatever I want. So how about those who've paved the way? If they have said the same thing and then not making it better, because we're still living in an imperfect world. For those of you who live in the French term, dans un monde de bisous tout, I'm sorry for you, because we're not living in a world that is perfect. So we'll be delusional, for lack of a better word. But I believe as Americans, as concerned citizens, our job, our duty is to uphold the truth, uphold the liberty that we have. And how we do that is by inviting others to be part of it. Not tyranny, not pushing those away. No. We need to have people buy into the freedom that we have. Because oftentimes we think everything's going to be fine and dandy. No. Every day, every month, every year, we deal with different challenges. If it's not a pandemic, it's a tsunami. If it's not a tsunami, it's a war. So now, how do you navigate between these challenges as they come to you? So unless you bring more people into the fold, because the more ideas that we have, more heads, the more people of the same desire, that's what makes things better. And then this is the disconnection that I've seen in Washington as of late. Because remember that the people, they follow the leaders. If your leaders is a leader that preaches or who advocates greatness, who advocate seeing the very best in others, I mean, we as Americans, that's what we'll aspire to. The word is leader. There's a saying that says, "He who has a vision must lead." That's the reason why, as we choose our leaders, we need to choose leaders who reflect our values, what America stands for, not for what they believe in, but what America stands for. That's what we look for in leaders. And there's empathy in Washington nowadays, and we need to reclaim our freedom. For so many have died in the cause of freedom. So many of our forefathers, as African Americans, have shed the blood. Even as recently as in the 60s, we blacks were not allowed to sit on the lunch counter with the white counterparts. That's alarming. But we've passed that stage. It's no longer anymore. It's not it. But again, that doesn't mean it goes away. I'm not going to sit here and say we live in a perfect America. I'd be like, although we don't have a white section, black section, that doesn't mean that we off the back. Yeah, it may not be there in the open, but then again, when you look at our legislators, our senators, the way they're voting, the way they're creating barriers to do away with certain bills, even they even bring on the floor. I mean, in the Senate, we need at least 60 votes, okay? We need 60 votes to bring a piece of legislation, just to discuss it, not to vote on it. Don't get me wrong now. So what does that tell you? If we can't even talk about something that is so dear to the American people, we are American. This is not things that has to do with illegal immigrants. No. I'm an immigrant. I'm for legal migration. So, just so our elected leaders know, I mean, this thing is deeper than just immigrants. So I wonder if all the immigrants that were coming to the United States, they were coming from Scandinavian, or they were coming from Australia, from Great Britain. What would be their shift? Every so often, America has gone to that dark side, like immigrants is a problem. No. They're just afraid of the unknown because you look different. Same plain as that. Today I'm going to make it plain tonight. It's the unknown, the others. You look different. You're not like them. That's all there is. It's not so much so, but this is still America. Okay, people? America is such a great nation because of others. People aspire to come here to the United States. They give them all, everything they have. I've known families, I've studies in China. People actually send their kid here to study by selling everything they have. Because you know why? Because they believe in the American dream. They believe if my son or my daughter can get a degree from America, he or she can come back home and hold a job or position that will benefit the entire family. So therefore, they're willing to sacrifice everything they got to make their dream come true. So now we, as Americans, we're enjoying this freedom. We are the best in movies. We are the best. We're supposed to be the beacon of hope, the beacon of democracy. All those aspire to look up to us. When people are looking for reference in the world, they look up to America. That's who they look up to. What are we telling these people these days? What are we telling these nations who for so long have always turned to us? That's the question that I'm asking my leaders tonight. What type of generation are we leading? We're leading now. We have a lot of work to do. But I still believe in the American dream. I still believe we have it in us. Well, this show from the get-go has always been about promoting the freedom that we have in America and how every day it's been chipping away from us. One thing we have to be true to ourselves. We have to be true to ourselves. One thing I know for a fact, dictatorship did not happen overnight. No. It's like you're chopping a tree. You cannot just hammer it. Let's say you cannot just hammer it just once, you just strike it. No. You little by little on the side, you start it until you get it to a point whereas you can hit it once. So eventually you're gonna get to your goal. And that's what dictators do. And I'm not saying America is heading in that direction, but again, there's a sense that that's where it's going. Every time you're taking freedom from people, you are actually trying to block them from voting. This is alarming. These are things that we've never heard before. These were not happening in the 60s. In the 60s, they just give you the right. I mean, when you look at the 1964 with the Civil Rights Act, in 1965, the Voting Rights Act. But okay, that gave us that gave us the freedom to vote. But once that was implemented, what happened? There was no such thing as stopping people from voting. Of course, they're making it difficult. You have to have a certain ID to vote. You have to have a certain IQ in the South. I mean, they'll test you, to vote. So many things that we enjoy today, we just take them for granted. And that's one of the reasons why I encourage my fellow Americans to take these things very seriously. Know about your rights. I mean, know about your civic duties as American. We must leave a legacy to future generations, not just to our offspring, but to our brothers and sisters, our grandchildren. They could go back to the Robert Verne show and in the archives from 50 years from now, 100 years. They could say, well, at one time there was a gentleman by the name of Robert Verne who once stood for freedom, who took the time to educate others or to mobilize others, to give them a sense that we can do better. What are we living for our future generation? That's my question to you tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, if you have any questions, this will be the time because we only have 5 minutes left until the end of the show. And I think I've gone into length and to discuss the reality of what's going on today. And tonight, I applaud you. If that goes through you, if you think that there's still more to be done, and then this is the time to do it. I'm sure you're busy. I mean, you have a lot of things going on. But then again, just think about if you don't have your freedom, what would it be? Oftentimes, we say, well, I don't have the time. I don't have the time to volunteer. I barely have time to sleep. I barely have time to spend time with family. But just think about it for a second. If your freedom is taken away from you, then what's next? Then what? This is my question to you tonight. What are we doing? That's my question to you. Okay, my fellow Americans, I hope that you have a wonderful evening, and we're coming down to the show the last few minutes. I was hoping we see some question, but apparently you guys are a bit shy tonight. But you know what? I didn't expect you to be too excited. But this is the topic that I delve into tonight is somewhat a reflection. And I pray that next time we meet again, next Monday, which will be the 28th, God's willing, that we have a more combustive conversation. And if we need if we need more of this discussion, please bring me some questions, and then I'll be more than happy to delve into it. Okay. I'm going to give you some shout outs since we come into the end to my fellow viewers. Thank you, those of you who liked in this evening. I encourage you to tell a friend, let them know that about the Robert DuVernay Show that comes in every Monday at 8 p.m. So we know how busy that you are, but that's why we shut it to half an hour. Within that half an hour, it's very compact. I mean, I can be reached via text messages. I can be reached via YouTube, Facebook, and also I can be reached via Instagram. If you guys follow me, also via Twitter. All these are channels that I make available to my viewers. If should you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to assist. Okay. Yes, thank you. Well, the likes of Dr. Azor, who just mentioned that we need to have these uncomfortable, reflective conversations. Yes, very, very important, Dr. Azor. Oftentimes we just like to see something that is blooming, that is rosy, but in reality, no. So yesterday I had the privilege to go out to a fine restaurant. As for Father's Day, I was treated to a fine restaurant. I'm happy. But I mean, the server, the people who were in the kitchen, they were getting the heat. But in reality, when the food was brought up to me, it was well presented, delicious. But someone paid the price. Someone in the kitchen paid the price just so I can enjoy the food that I was eating. Of course, I had to pay for it. It wasn't for free. But in other words, it may be uncomfortable. But these things are very important that we do talk about them, just to appreciate, so you can appreciate things. I think unless we know what's going on in the background, what's going on in the kitchen, we will never understand the real issue. So until we meet again, my fellow Americans, let's stay tuned, and I look forward to your question the next time. Again, if it's Monday, if it's 8 p.m., it's the Robert DuVernay Show. Until we meet again, my fellow Americans, I wish you have a wonderful evening, and don't worry about what's going on, but you just have to be in tune with your leaders, your senators. Let them know where you stand on certain issues. Thank you. Until next time, my fellow Americans, have a wonderful